Kita akan segera memulai sesi panel yang kelima yang berjudul Roles of Faith-Based Organizations in Multi-Faith Collaboration to Address Global Challenges. Kami mengundang para panelis untuk naik ke atas panggung. Panelis yang pertama, Profesor Ahmad Musaki, PhD, Rektor dari State Islamic University of Sunan Ampel, Surabaya. Kami persilakan. Panelis yang kedua, kami panggilkan Nadine Maenza, President International Religious Freedom Secretariat. Kami persilakan. Panelis yang ketiga, kami panggilkan Profesor Dr. Lukman Tahir, Rektor dari State Islamic University of Dato Karama, Palu. Kami persilakan. Panelis yang keempat, kami panggilkan Kiai Haji Abdul Halim Mahfudz, Chairman dari Tebu Ireng Pesantren Wakaf Foundation. Kami persilakan. Panelis yang kelima, kami panggilkan Dr. Peter Mandeville, Senior Advisor for Faith Engagement, United States Agency for International Development. Kami persilakan. Dan panelis yang keenam, kami panggilkan Dr. Hendra Lim, Chair dari Human Resources Development Indonesian Budayana Assembly. Kami persilakan. Kemudian kami panggilkan juga moderator yang akan memoderasi sesi panel kelima ini. Kami panggilkan Pendeta Ferry Mamahit, PhD. Beliau adalah Executive Director dari The Center for Interdisciplinary Studies on Religion and Culture. Mari kita berikan tepuk tangan untuk seluruh panelis serta moderator. Saya persilakan kepada moderator untuk memimpin acara.
Selamat sore Bapak Ibu dan saudara-saudara yang terhormat. Saya mau menyapa Bapak Ibu dan saudara-saudara yang ada di forum ini dan juga mau menyapa rekan-rekan atau partisipan yang mengikuti acara ini melalui Zoom. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, Shalom Aleichem, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan. Pada sore hari ini kita akan bersama-sama mengikuti paparan dari beberapa panelis yang sudah mempersiapkan presentasi masing-masing dengan fokus kepada peran organisasi-organisasi berbasis iman di dalam kolaborasi antar agama untuk menyasar atau mendiskusikan isu-isu global. Roles of faith-based organizations in multi-faith collaboration to address global challenges. Jadi panel ini Bapak Ibu dan saudara-saudara akan berfokus kepada bagaimana ya organisasi-organisasi berbasis iman itu di dalam mendiskusikan dan mengarahkan kegiatan-kegiatan mereka untuk engagement seperti yang sudah dikatakan oleh Prof. Amin Abdullah kemarin, bagaimana kita berangkat bukan hanya sekedar dialog tetapi juga menuju kepada keterlibatan bersama. Dan bagaimana kerjasama internasional dan nasional ini ya secara nasional itu bisa menguatkan ya dan juga bisa menolong sebuah masyarakat yang inklusif ya di tengah-tengah keberbedaan agama dan budaya. Ya. Tanpa berlama-lama, saya akan memberikan waktu kepada setiap panelis untuk menyampaikan materi masing-masing selama 7 menit, ya, Bapak Ibu dan Saudara-saudara. Yang pertama, saya berikan kesempatan kepada Prof. Ahmad Muzaki yang terhormat untuk menyampaikan paparan materinya. Silakan, Pak.
Saya izin berdiri, Pak.
Ya, baik.
Good afternoon, everybody. Excellencies, audiences, and all speakers. What I'm going to present this afternoon is based on my experience in my positions as Secretary of East Java's Nahdlatul Ulama for 12 years. And I assume also my position as the Secretary of Majelis Ulama Indonesia of East Java for 5 years. And of course, now I'm heading the State Islam University of Sunan Ampel, Surabaya. Yesterday, the Honorable Minister of Affairs, Ibu Marsudi, suggested the conflict is not inherently religious, but religious components contributed a lot to the conflict. I totally agree with that. But let us imagine what happened to this conference, to this place, also occur in other public spheres across Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and the globe. And now I'm inviting you to see a short movie. I've already provided to the committee. Okay. Next slide. Okay.
Saudara itu yang mau relain hatinya buat si dia, yang mau kasih tempat
Stop,
sama
please.
yang makan tempat.
It has to be moving. It's not a picture, it's movie. It's film. Come on, please. I've given through Matthias 2 files, PowerPoint and also the film, the short movie. Saya kan tidak menghabiskan waktu, Pak, ya. Izin, Pak, bukan kesalahan saya, Pak.
Ya. Oke.
Okay. Let's from the
Saudara
beginning.
itu yang mau relain hatinya buat si dia, yang mau kasih tempat sama yang makan tempat, yang mau susah walau sibuk ngunyah, yang gak kenal nama tapi ikutan ketawa, yang beda kepercayaan tapi duduk semeja, yang beda cara makannya walau sama menunya. Di meja-meja itu kami jadi saksi. Apapun makanannya, siapapun kita, semua diterima apa adanya. Dan itulah arti saudara sebenarnya.
I'm really sorry. Now I'm not selling teh botol sosro. Come on. This, this is not also endorsement. It's just a case. This is to show how if people have multi-faith awareness, cross-culture awareness, we can imagine what would happen to the people. Okay? Next slide. We see whatever you have, wherever you come from, we share things in the public sphere. Whatever the religion you believe, we share things. Like what happens here in this conference. You belong to believers of Islam, Buddhism, Christianity. We sit all together here sharing things in this conference. Difference, it's not a problem. Like teh botol sosro. Whatever the meals, the drink is teh botol sosro. So we can imagine if public awareness has been raised. But the issue is that why I'm presenting you, showing you a short movie, because some of you are teachers. And the intriguing problem for teachers today is the generation gap. You belong to old-fashioned generation. But your students is not only millennial, now Gen Z people. So the generation gap is a problem. Now, what we have to do is that, and I'm now seeing the multi-faith problems across the globe by coming with an idea of what we call in the next slide is Pentahelix approach. 5 pillars here. The government, schools, media, industry, and also religious-based organizations. I've talked this morning to my colleagues from teachers of Buddhism. Your problem in Buddhism and your problem in Christianity and my problems in Islam, Muslim community, is not how we engage ourselves. The problem is how do we engage the youth into the public awareness of multi-faith complexities. Now, we can imagine how, for example, school teachers, please do not think about the important things. Now, there are 2 concepts, the important and the interesting. Teachers always talk about the important, neglecting at all the interesting. That is why the youth would say, come on, it's not good enough because it's not interesting. You talk about important, but what you present is not interesting. Media, for example. Let's imagine if, for example, people in media industry now also focus on multi-faith sensitivity in youth-oriented content production. Last week, Ustadz Habib Ja'far, and a person from Buddhism, having on stage, roasting each other. This is good, imparting good impression to the youth. Because the issue is that how we engage the youth into the public awareness of multi-faith complexity. Number 3 is industry. What we've seen in a short movie we just showed is that the content production by Teh Botol Sosro. You from a believer of Islam, and then you do prayer. You from Christianity also do the same things, just sitting beside the table. Everybody's performing their religious teachings, and they're okay. Harmonious, peaceful conditions in that situation. So let's imagine if business and economic plans have the same advertisement promoting ideas of multi-faith awareness to the youth. And number 4 is religious-based organizations. Reaching out the people on the ground can be taken seriously. But the issue is how effective it is if it's delivered to the youth. Because the youth have different references, different preferences in comparison to the old-fashioned people. So that is why religious-based organizations also have to focus on the idea of how to produce community outreach, community engagement, inviting the youth into the public awareness. Now, these 4 pillars will go effective if there is government policy, securing the public's spheres for multi-faith awareness, and then people can now understand difference is not a problem. We are different by nature, so we cooperate to each other. If that's the case, let's see the next slide.
30 menit lagi.
Siap. Cultural identities, multiple identities, no problem. But if that's go for effective, so you can go to multi-faith awareness. If that's the case, harmony, integration, and humanity are there. Thank you.
Oke, baik. Terima kasih. Mari kita berikan aplaus buat Prof. Muzaki. Ya, jadi ini insight yang baik tentang 5 pilar yang sudah disampaikan oleh Prof. Muzaki. Silahkan Nadine, your time.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with you today. First, of course, I'd like to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Lamina Institute for hosting and all of those serving as co-hosts. I first had the opportunity to visit beautiful Indonesia when I served as a commissioner on the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, I believe in 2019. And I served for 4 years, my last year as chair. And so USCIRF, if you're not familiar, is an independent U.S. government agency tasked with assessing religious freedom conditions globally and making recommendations to its own government. So while at USCIRF, I was able to travel extensively with official delegations, and also sometimes I would return in my own capacity to better understand conditions, and I've continued to do that since I've left. Unlike many conferences and events I have attended, period, actually. This conference has been focused on solutions instead of just continuing to discuss the problem. So it has been such an encouragement to me to see how we could deep dive in terms of finding these solutions. So when I was at USCIRF, and when I finished my second term, I chose to join Greg Mitchell at IRF Secretariat because I was impressed on the focus on finding solutions, the focus on multi-faith engagement, where we bring together religious communities, civil society, and sometimes government to find solutions for local problems. So at IRF Secretariat, we are working to build infrastructure to serve the religious freedom movement globally. And this includes a Religious Freedom Roundtable in Washington, D.C. that we convene. We've also helped set them up in almost 40 countries globally. And we are also launching regional secretariats to help not control work, because we don't control anything. We just convene and support. But really making sure that things are locally run, locally owned. Nothing should be run from Washington is pretty much our motto. And in fact, I just finished a breakout session where we talked about the potential of a Religious Freedom Roundtable here in the local context and how they're each so different in order to meet their own needs. In fact, Greg Mitchell was not able to join us this week because he and Wade Kuzak from Love Your Neighbor Community, or LINK, just finished a week launching 8 regional roundtables in Kazakhstan. Because the country came to understand the need for this kind of work, even at the regional levels. So what we find, even in countries or communities that have positive religious freedom conditions, and I think this has come up a couple of times during this conference, it's important to safeguard these conditions by continuing to improve laws and build interfaith harmony before it's an emergency. One catastrophic event, leader, or an event could be a catalyst for division, worsening conditions. But if it's done ahead of time, it can build interfaith harmony, producing resilience that protects societies against these events, allowing for continued peace and stability. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not about becoming more secular so we can work together. Instead, it's about bringing our whole selves, including our deepest held religious beliefs, while respecting the human dignity of the person next to us with completely different religious beliefs. And then we work together, we stand for each other to have the right to not only practice our faith, but be treated with that same human dignity, to have that same equal citizenship. It's been encouraging, too, to see more specialists in the religious freedom movement working to build religious freedom, like the Lamina Institute and others in this room as well. As we've heard the last few days, we need to move towards multi-faith engagement to build religious freedom and resilience with the goal of long-term peace and stability. And so at last fall's Lamina Institute event here in Jakarta, Greg Mitchell and I did 2 breakout sessions focused on multi-faith engagement. Both sessions ended up with over a dozen teachers that had classrooms from elementary age to high school, and even principals of Christian school and madrasas. And one by one, they shared their stories of how excited they were about building multi-faith relationships and how that had changed the dynamics of their classrooms. Of course, we were stunned. If those 24 or so enthusiastic leaders and principals were the only outcome of Lamina Institute's cross-cultural religious literacy, it would be considered a huge success when compared with global programs. Literally. But over 8,500 teachers, it simply is astounding. And along with you, I was moved by those teachers yesterday who shared how their own experiences having transformation in the way they saw one another, eliminating their previous prejudices. I especially appreciated hearing about the beautiful friendship between the two teachers that roomed together during CCRL, leading to the visit that we saw in the video that was so beautiful, the Christian school and the madrasa. So this is how to transform societies and ensure the next generation moves towards cohesion and stability, rather than the global trend that keeps us divided along religious lines. So last October, Earth Secretariat was part of an online global summit that brought together about 250 youth focused on religious freedom. And out of those 250 youth, over 50 were from Indonesia. It was the largest country represented. And so it lets you know something is happening here in Indonesia with the youth, and it is super exciting. And you know, I was able to spend some time with Matthias and some of his team before we started, and while seeing this reception to CCRL, it's easy to not realize how hard it really was to get it started. It took so much work on their part, and it took courage. You know, they had to carefully create a curriculum for the teachers using their own experiences and the many experts you've heard this week, and then share it with potential partners for feedback. And they said they focused on building trust and being consistent. Now they're partnering with 2 government ministries and 32 different organizations, and still growing. And I think one other, in closing, there's another reason for the success of the CCR here, and it's really the professionalism of Matthias and his entire team. I mean, I don't know about you, but these conferences are done so thoughtfully with us in mind, and it makes it so easy for us, meets our needs, we're able to really engage and learn from the speakers. And when I was sitting with his team, they were talking to me about how they think through the experience of the attendee for CCRL. They try to think through their eyes. How is it going to be for them? How can they make the experience better? How can they make it more comfortable? And so you figure how wonderful we've all been treated here this week. Well, that's how these participants are treated, which really goes so far in helping make this a success. And so I just want to say thank you for modeling that for all of us. We often need to be reminded that it's a lot of little things that make sometimes the big difference in how we're treated and helping us to feel more comfortable. So thanks so much.
Mari kita berikan aplaus buat Ibu Nadine yang sudah berbicara cukup baik, ya, men-sharingkan bagaimana diskusi-diskusi meja bundar, ya, round table discussion ini dalam skala internasional, regional, nasional, ini bisa menolong untuk mengikat, ya, kerjasama yang baik untuk menghasilkan relasi-relasi yang damai. Selanjutnya silakan Profesor Lukman Tahir untuk menyampaikan materinya.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, honorable of all panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Before beginning my presentation, I would like to introduce myself briefly. I am Professor Dr. Lukman S. Tahir, Rector of State Islamic University, Dato Karama. I have been invited here as a panelist to discuss the role of religious-based organization in multi-faith collaboration. This invitation is very challenging for me because it should be the head of religious organization who conveys. However, considering that this invitation comes from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia and the Lamina Institute, the latter, which has long been collaboration with UIN Dato Karama Palu on the LKLB program, I accepted by focusing the study on one of the largest religious-based organization in Eastern Indonesia, namely the Al-Herat organization. So with this good opportunity, I would like to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Lamina Institute for inviting me to be a part of this conference. In general discussions, scholars and religious leaders around the world are well aware of religious organizations in Indonesia, particularly the Nahdlatul Ulama and Muhammadiyah, which are based in Java. To outside observers, these two organizations represented Indonesian Muslims. Nonetheless, numerous Islamic organizations outside of Java are highly influential and involved in interfaith collaboration in Indonesia. These organizations include Al-Wasiliyah in North Sumatra, Darul Da'wah Wal Irsyad in South Sulawesi, Nahdlatul Watan in West Nusa Tenggara, and Al-Khairat in Central Sulawesi. Al-Khairat was founded in 1930, 4 years after NU and long before the independence of Indonesia. His founder was an Islamic scholar born in Tarim, Hadramaut, southern Yemen. He was known by the name Sayyid Idrus bin Salim Al-Jufri. The organization's central office is located in Palu, Central Sulawesi, and it is involved in education, preaching, and social activities. Its regional officers are spread across various provinces in eastern Indonesia, including Sulawesi, North Maluku, Maluku, Papua, and Kalimantan. Since its establishment, the organization has developed 1,550 madrasah, 36 Islamic boarding school, pondok pesantren, 1 university and a general hospital in Palu. Al-Khairat socio-religious ideology is based on Ash'ari theology, adheres to the Shafi'i school of Islamic law, and its ethics center around Imam Al-Ghazali. With this socio-religious understanding, Al-Khairat has become an inclusive, tolerant, and humanistic religious organization. Al-Khairat has played a significant role in multi-faith collaboration, promoting interfaith dialogue, advocating tolerance, and contributing to broader social cohesion with Indonesian diverse religious landscape. Here are some key roles played by this organization. 1. Moral and ethical guidance. Al-Khairat provides moral and ethical framework rooted in religious teaching, which can serve common ground for addressing global challenge. Al-Khairat often emphasizes principles such as justice, compassion, and stewardship of the environment, which are essential in tackling issues like poverty, climate change, and social injustice. Al-Khairat is a home for all religions and ethnic groups, and it also a place for consultation if there are incidents that injure human dignity values. When the Poso conflict occurred in 1989, Al-Khairat leaders and the central and regional government facilitate a meeting to mediate between the conflicting group through a meeting interfaith leader, which result in the Malino Declaration, the signing of the peace agreement on December 20, 2001. 2. Community engagement. Al-Khairat is deeply embedded with its local communities, making them effective in mobilizing grassroots support and action. They can engage individuals across different faiths to work together towards common goals, leveraging their network and influence to promote peace, tolerance, and mutual understanding. The role of the Al-Khairat community can be seen in the case of the release of Rinaldi Domanic priest, Pendeta Domanic, a convict in the Poso riot case who was sentenced 3 years in prison by the Palu District Court in June 23, 2003. Domanic, currently chairman of the Central Sulawesi Christian Church Synod Council, received conditional release because he was deemed to have behaved well in prison and received guarantee from Al-Hayrat figure and the community as reported detik.com. Third, service delivery. The community of Al-Hayrat is actively involved in humanitarian aid, healthcare, education, and social service. I have 2 minutes.
Ya, silahkan disimpulkan Pak.
Yeah, interfaith dialogue and peace building. Al-Hayrat facilitate interfaith dialogue and cooperation, fostering understanding and respect between interfaith religious community. This organization is promoting dialogue and joint initiative. They contribute to building bridge across religious divides and reducing tension that exacerbate global conflict. One example of Al-Hayrat being a pioneer of peace is that not only accept non-Muslim children to study a madrasah school, but also accept non-Muslim teacher to teach in religious and public school in the Al-Hayrat area. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mari kita. Ya. Terima kasih untuk sharing dari Pak Lukman, Prof. Tentang Al-Khairat ya. Ini organisasi yang sudah sangat berpengalaman dan jauh terlibat di dalam proses kolaborasi multi-faith ini. Selanjutnya kita akan persilahkan Pak Kiai, ya Pak Kiai Haji Abdul Halim Mahmud ya,
Terima
dari
kasih.
Tebu Ireng.
Mohon izin saya berdiri karena ada beberapa hal yang harus saya tunjukkan. Slide bisa dimulai. Oke. Terima kasih Bapak-bapak yang mulia, para ahli IF, Interfaith Religions. Saya ingin menjelaskan bahwa saya dikasih tahu dan dipertanyakan roles of faith-based organizations. Saya ingin masuk aja, tidak perlu saya ngomong terlalu banyak mengenai, karena bapak-bapak semua ahli mengenai interfaith. Nah, saya langsung masuk, salah satu di antara peran daripada interfaith itu adalah bridge building. Pasti bridge building, Bapak datang, saya ketemu dengan Pak Markus dari Austria, bertemu dengan yang lain-lain dari negara lain. Kemudian saya lebih masuk lagi, setelah bridge building, peran lain adalah tidak perlu banyak-banyak yang saya ambil satu saja isu yang perlu ditangani oleh interfaith organization, yaitu climate change. Climate change, kenapa? Ini salah satu di antara tantangan global yang sekarang dihadapin. Dan saya ambil satu saja yang kira-kira saya atau organisasi saya bisa berperan atau punya berkiprah di sana. Selanjutnya, ini saya berharap mudah-mudahan angka-angka bisa dilihat. Jadi climate change itu, saya ingin ngomong mengenai kita dan air. Kenapa? Fact. 71% dari permukaan bumi ini tertutup oleh air. 71%. Dari 71%, itu 96,5% itu ditutup air. Ya, 96,5% itu air asin. 96,5% itu air asin. Nah, kemudian air yang tidak asin itu ya ada di uap air, ada di sungai, ada di danau, ada di es, mungkin juga di permafrost, di tanah yang sudah beku di bawah kutub-kutub dan segala macam. Ini sumbernya dari US Geological Survey, bukan dari pesantren saya. Artinya angka ini pas di sana. Nah, kenapa saya pengen masuk lagi, di mana air itu sekarang? Dari 1,5, tolong sebelumnya, slide sebelumnya. Nah, fresh water, ternyata seberapa banyak fresh water itu? Fresh water itu 2,5% saja. 2,5% saja, kemudian yang lainnya apa? Itu adalah air asin, dan di mana air asin itu ada di lautan. Di fresh water itu macam-macam dan itu dijelaskan lebih detail lagi di kolom yang tengah. Fresh water itu 30% itu adalah groundwater, air bawah tanah. Kemudian lainnya itulah di glasier, di kutub dan segala macam yang tidak mungkin kita mengaksesnya. Apalagi yang dari Indonesia agak jauh mengakses air es di kutub. Nah, kemudian lebih detail lagi, di mana sebenarnya air yang fresh water itu lebih kecil lagi. Di sana tinggal 1% itu air yang 1% di atmosfer. Ini saya bapak di belakang bisa baca, bisa kelihatan. Kecil, ya. Ada bisa difokus enggak? Oke, zoom ya. Oke, permisi. Atmosfer 3%, kemudian di danau itu ada 20%, kemudian di ground dan di tanah-tanah di bawah tanah itu 69. Jadi sebenarnya secara murni, air murni benar-benar air segar itu hanya 1,2% di seluruh dunia. 1,2%. Sekarang kita tinggal di abad yang sekarang ini di mana kalau tidak salah penduduk bumi sekarang 8 miliar. Semua butuh air. Bapak-bapak di setiap meja ada air. Tidak bisa kita hidup dengan tanpa air. Ya. Dan begitu kecilnya air itu yang ada, meskipun benar bahwa air itu tidak akan habis. Meskipun cuma 1,sekian%, tidak akan habis. Tetapi dia akan berubah bentuk. Jadi setelah Bapak pakai, air itu akan menjadi uap. Dan uap pun kita akan menunggu waktu yang lama untuk bisa ngembun dan menjadi air. Nah, karena itu kita berpikir, next slide please. Nah, apa yang bisa dilakukan oleh IF? Yang kita harus mengakui bahwa kita punya moral responsibility untuk menghemat air, moral responsibility. Dan moral responsibility tidak bisa dilakukan sendirian oleh 1-2 orang atau organisasi. Ini perlu kerjasama yang rapi antara seluruh IF. Setelah itu macam-macam yang promoting sustainable practices, advocating for climate change. Nah, kemudian untuk membantu menghemat air, organisasi memproduksi ini, mangkok. Ini dalam bahasa Arab ini Pak Alwisat itu ada hadis kalau Rasulullah SAW yatawaddau bil mud. Mud itu ini istilah mangkok dalam bahasa Arab. Mud, mangkok. Itu kalau wudhu dengan satu ini. Ini ukurannya 0,675 mililiter. Tidak ada 1 liter. Sementara survei paling enggak penelitian saya itu menyebutkan bahwa rata-rata kalau orang rata-rata hampir semua masjid ya itu cara wudhunya mereka ngucurkan air. Kalau air ngucur itu yang dihabiskan 4,42 liter. Nah, dari situ dengan ini itu 4,2 liter itu 5 kali sehari kalau enggak batal. Ya, kalau orang Islam itu salatnya 5 kali kalau enggak batal. Ya, lalu kalau batal harus ngulang lagi. Nah, kemudian dibanding itu mangkok ini hanya butuh 29%, hampir 30% dari standar itu.
Waktunya
Jadi,
sudah habis, Pak.
Ya, saya ingin promosikan mudah-mudahan ini dikenal oleh seluruh IF dan ini bisa
terima kasih.
Dunia. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selanjutnya saya persilahkan Bapak Peter Mandeville untuk menyampaikan paparan materinya. Ya mungkin Bapak Ibu dan saudara-saudara mau melihat mangkok ini ya. Silahkan dilihat dan diedarkan mungkin. Silakan. Your turn.
Thank you very
Dr.
much.
Mandavlu.
Good afternoon to all of you. I want to begin by thanking our hosts, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, the Lemena Institute, and of course our friends at BYU Law and the Templeton Religion Trust. Thank you for bringing us all together and for extending this invitation. I've had the pleasure of visiting Indonesia regularly for almost 25 years now, and it's always a pleasure to come back and see old friends, and on this occasion to also make some new friends. In the time that I have available today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about how the United States Agency for International Development thinks about and approaches partnerships with faith-based organizations. Thinking about the title of this panel, our emphasis is naturally on the global challenges piece of it. We are the primary agency of the US government focused on foreign assistance, international cooperation, humanitarian relief. So we focus on global health challenges, food security, promoting inclusive economic growth and prosperity. In that sense, fostering interfaith understanding is not a primary objective of our work, but that doesn't mean that it's not part of what we do. Multi-faith collaboration is a modality that we use in our work, and as I hope to illustrate through a couple of brief examples, interfaith understanding is often a significant dividend that arises from the work that we do. So USAID has been partnering with faith-based organizations since we opened our doors in the early 1960s. We do so because faith-based organizations often possess unique capacity to help improve the quality of the programs and projects that we fund and deliver around the world. USAID has had a dedicated center for faith-based and neighborhood partnerships for more than 20 years now, and it's the work of this center that I have the honor to lead on behalf of the current US administration. Just to give you an example, a typical example of what a faith-based partnership for us would look like, I can actually do so very close to home here in Indonesia. So for more than 10 years now, USAID in Indonesia has been partnering with Muhammadiyah in the field of global health. As many of you will know, Muhammadiyah possesses a network of several hundred hospitals reaching across almost all provinces of Indonesia, and we've had a very rich and powerful partnership with them in the field of addressing the challenges related to tuberculosis here in Indonesia. So that's a typical example of how we would work with a faith-based organization. The center that I have the honor of leading serves as an interface point between faith-based organizations around the world who are interested in learning about how they might be able to partner with USAID. We help them connect with the different departments of our agency. I will be the first to admit that USAID is a very complicated, bureaucratic, governmental organization. Working with us can sometimes seem very daunting because there are so many requirements around compliance and regulations and laws. And so our job is to help local faith-based organizations to figure out how they can connect with us and how we can bring our respective resources and advantages together to achieve outcomes. Our center also focuses on improving the capacity of USAID's own workforce to understand the value of partnering with faith-based organizations. And to that end, we're very proud that last year, our administrator, Samantha Power, launched this policy. It's called Building Bridges and Development, USAID Strategic Religious Engagement Policy. And it's the first time that any US government agency has developed and publicly released a policy that explains why and how we partner with faith-based organizations to achieve our mission. I have a number of copies of it here, and you are welcome to take one. I would welcome this for two reasons. One, because I want you to learn about how we think about these partnerships, but also I don't want to have to carry them back to Washington, D.C. in my suitcase, so please do come and avail yourself of a copy. So in it, we explain the case for working with faith-based organizations. They often enjoy unique levels of trust within their communities. They often make it possible for us to reach segments of populations that we would not otherwise be able to. There's a sustainability factor here as well. When it comes to natural disasters, for example, the faith-based organizations are the ones that have been on the ground long before the disaster happens. They are the organizations that are on the front lines of responding to the disaster, and they are the ones who will still be there even after the international donors have departed. So on the merits, there's a very strong case, in our view, for building these kinds of partnerships. We also, in this policy, try to elaborate some principles that should guide the way that our colleagues in our agency relate to and connect with faith-based organizations. I mentioned that it has the title Building Bridges. It's a dual purpose, the bridges part. It's about the connection of a bridge, but the bridge is also an acronym, standing for the notions and concepts of belonging, respect, integrity, dignity, and there's that concept, dignity again. It's in a US government policy, which means that the discussions we had yesterday about defining and operationalizing dignity are something that we have to work through right now. Growth, equity, and sustainability. Finally, in the brief seconds I have left, I want to touch on an example of two projects that involve the multi-faith collaboration mechanism. One is a project based in Morocco called Rebuilding Our Homes that we implement in partnership with the American Sephardi Federation and the Memuna Association. And it's focused on revitalizing the historic Jewish neighborhoods of Moroccan cities, such as Rabat and Fez, the Mellas. Technically, it's an urban renewal and economic growth project, but it has a corollary effect of building greater awareness within local communities, within Morocco's tourism industry, of the historical role and contributions of Moroccan Jews to the development of their country over time. A second example of one of these projects is also closer to home here in Indonesia. Another initiative that the USAID mission here supports is a project implemented in cooperation with the Humanitarian Forum Indonesia, which is a network of 20 faith-based organizations in Indonesia that operate or that provide various forms of humanitarian assistance. Technically, this is a project focused on increasing disaster management capacity and humanitarian standards. But it also allows faith-based organizations of different backgrounds to spend time learning about each other's understandings and commitments of providing relief and serving humankind in times of adversity. So thank you very much for your attention and the opportunity to share some of this with you today.
Okay, thank you. Terima kasih. Kita lanjutkan dengan Pak Hendra Lim, silakan Pak.
Baik, terima kasih. Saya izin berdiri.
Silakan.
Ya, biar lengkap. Tadi Profesor ngomong pakai bahasa Indonesia, saya ikut temenin ya Prof. Actually I can speak in English, but I think it's better to speak in bahasa. Saya minta tolong untuk menampilkan slide. Terima kasih. Jadi selamat sore, semoga Anda semua bahagia dan tidak kehilangan sebab-sebab kebahagiaannya. Mewakili agama Buddha, biasanya kita terbiasa mengucapkan Sabe Sata Bawantu Sukhi, yang artinya adalah semoga Anda semua bahagia. Ya, jadi itu adalah sebuah doa sekaligus salam yang universal, karena saya yakin semua orang di ruangan ini, termasuk Pak Moderator yang kalau waktunya sudah mau habis, gimana ya saya berhentinya ya, ingin bahagia. Dan saya kebetulan peserta terakhir di sesi terakhir, terima kasih. Tapi ini sebuah kesempatan yang sangat baik sekali. Next, yes. dalam kesempatan kali ini saya punya waktu sekitar 7 menit untuk memperkenalkan apa yang dilakukan oleh Majelis Budayana Indonesia dalam konteks multi-faith collaboration to address global challenges. Jadi apa yang akan saya sampaikan adalah kurang lebih apa yang menjadi sedikit sejarah singkat dari Majelis Budaya Indonesia dan peran yang dilakukan oleh para anggotanya. Berikutnya. Jadi ini adalah sedikit perjalanan singkat, usianya baru sekitar setengah abad lebih, mohon maaf matematika saya agak kurang, ngitungnya agak susah ya. Jadi dibentuk tahun 1955 dan mengalami perubahan nama sebelum akhirnya pada tahun 1979 menjadi Majelis Budayana Indonesia. Perhatikan bahwa kami adalah satu-satunya organisasi Buddhis tertua di Indonesia. Bahkan lebih tua dari organisasi yang lain. Berikutnya, singkat saja. Nah, di dalam anggaran dasar dan anggaran rumah tangga, MBI itu terdapat anggota yang disebut sebagai upasaka dan upasika, dan bawahnya lagi adalah pandita. Dan kata pandita ini ternyata baru saya cek di kamus besar bahasa Indonesia khususnya itu sudah masuk menjadi perumah tangga yang memberikan pelayanan kepada umat Buddha. I think in English we can call it the Buddhist priest. Jadi ada dua kelompok, siswa Buddha ada dua kelompok, yang monastik, biksu-biksuni, dan satu lagi adalah perumah tangga. Berikutnya. Dan tentu kami adalah perumah tangga yang membantu tugas pokok para biksu-biksuni. Ada 4 di sana, upacara suka duka, pelaksanaan khotbah, peningkatan keyakinan umat dan keharmonisan internal dan hubungan dengan lembaga keagamaan masyarakat serta pemerintah. Di poin keempat inilah bagian yang menjadi peran kami dalam hubungan kerja lintas agama dan juga dalam menjalankan program-program dari pemerintah. Dan tentu di bagian yang merah saya ingin meng-highlight satu poin yang menjadi tugas atau peran kami dalam conference ini yang mana mencoba untuk mengadres berbagai isu-isu yang terjadi secara global. Berikutnya. Dan tentu saja kalau kita lihat bagaimana cara kami khususnya di komunitas Buddha untuk menjamin terjadinya keharmonisan, untuk menjamin terjadinya toleransi antar umat beragama, tentu para pandita kami atau para pembicara-pembicara yang menyampaikan ajaran Buddha, baik di publik seperti ini, maupun di universitas, maupun di wihara, itu mampu untuk menyampaikan ajaran-ajaran Buddha yang bisa membantu atau bisa mengadres isu-isu global. Kami mengajarkan bahwa para pandita kami itu ketika berkhotbah, itu harus menyampaikan materi yang menciptakan keharmonisan. Nomor 2 sangat penting, saya yakin kalau kita berbicara di antara lintas organisasi keagamaan atau kita mampu untuk menjalin keharmonisan antar umat beragama, tentu sangat penting untuk tidak menjelaskan perbandingan antar agama. Dalam konteks di agama A, di agama B prakteknya seperti ini, di agama Buddha enggak seperti itu, tuh bertentangan dengan Buddha Dharma dan sebagainya. Kami sangat concern dengan hal tersebut dan kalau di dalam pelatihan Dharma Duta yang dilakukan, kami mengingatkan mereka untuk tidak melakukan tersebut. Bila ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan dari umat yang cukup provokatif, hindari menjawab dengan melakukan perbandingan yang sifatnya tidak seimbang. Dan tentu poin ketiga sangat penting karena kita berbicara tentang bagaimana mampu untuk bisa turut serta berkontribusi di dalam mengatasi berbagai isu-isu yang terjadi di tengah-tengah kehidupan kita sebagai penghuni global village. Apa? Gini, doktrin atau di agama Buddha ketika kita berbagi pesan-pesan Buddha, ada isi yang sifatnya doktrin, sifatnya dogma. Tetapi ada satu lagi yang sifatnya relevan dengan kehidupan sehari-hari. Tadi kita belajar tentang bahwa ternyata air cuma 1% ya Prof. 2,5% saja itu air yang sifatnya fresh yang bisa kita gunakan. Dari 2,5% itu cuma 1% yang kita bisa gunakan. Tentu di dalam penyampaian di tengah-tengah umat kami berusaha untuk menyampaikan topik-topik yang juga relevan dengan kehidupan sehari-hari. Bagaimana kami mengajak mereka untuk peduli dengan pemanasan global, dengan perubahan iklim, save the water. Bahkan Ibu Bapak mungkin tahu bahwa salah satu hal yang menjadi penyebab pemanasan global adalah efek rumah kaca adalah peternakan. Dan Anda juga mungkin tahu bahwa salah satu praktek yang dilakukan oleh banyak umat Buddha adalah tidak mengkonsumsi makanan yang mengandung hewani. Itu adalah salah satunya. Jadi ketika kita bicara tentang bagaimana mengatasi atau peran Majelis Budaya Indonesia dalam turut mengatasi berbagai isu global, maka itu dilakukan oleh para pandita atau agent of change dengan menyampaikan pesan-pesan dharma yang menyejukkan, yang tidak membandingkan antar agama, yang juga turut mengadres berbagai persoalan-persoalan yang ada di tengah-tengah kita, tengah-tengah dunia. Sudah sangat tidak relevan ketika kita menyampaikan pesan-pesan agama hanya sebatas doktrin, hanya sebatas apa yang tertulis di kitab suci. Karena apa? Karena dunia berubah. Majelis Agama Buddha Indonesia adalah majelis yang turut mengumandangkan apa yang disebut sebagai agama Buddha kontekstual, Pak. Agama Buddha yang terkait dengan kenyataan realita yang terjadi dalam kehidupan sehari-hari. Kita tidak lagi cukup atau semata-mata mengglorifikasi kejayaan atau kehidupan di India 2500 tahun yang lalu. Tetapi kami hidup di Indonesia di abad di mana Buddha Dharma disampaikan lewat internet, lewat media dan lain sebagainya. Tentu kita juga perlu turut serta untuk mengadres masalah ini. Berikutnya. Next. Terima kasih.
Mari kita berikan tepuk tangan untuk Pak Hendra Lim ya. Baiklah Bapak Ibu dan Saudara-saudara, karena waktu kita juga terbatas, saya akan langsung saja masuk kepada sesi tanya jawab. Silahkan Bapak Ibu dan Saudara-saudara yang sudah menyiapkan pertanyaannya, bisa menyebutkan nama dan asal organisasi. Bapak Ibu dan Saudara-saudara yang bertanya hanya diberikan waktu 2 menit untuk bertanya ya, jadi ini fokus kepada pertanyaan. Nah untuk termin pertama saya mengundang 3 penanya dulu ya. Baik, silakan yang di belakang tadi yang dari Palu, lalu Ibu dan juga Prof. Arifin ya, silakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak, saya akan bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia. Perkenalkan nama
mungkin
saya.
Bisa dijelaskan ke siapa atau ke semua panel?
Iya, kedua panelis. Saya perkenalkan dulu, nama saya Afdal dari perwakilan Kementerian Agama sebagai penyuluh yang bekerja langsung di lapangan berjumpa dengan umat. Materi pada kesempatan ini sangat menarik karena saya terus hampir setiap saat berkecimpung dengan ormas-ormas, tapi saya ingin lebih banyak menimba materi pada guru-guru saya, senior saya yang ada di tempat ini. Pertanyaan pertama saya tujukan kepada Bapak Prof. Ahmad Muzaki, PhD. Apa potensi terbesar yang dimiliki organisasi berbasis keagamaan dalam mengatasi tantangan global? Melihat keberagaman agama dan budaya sangat penting untuk dikelola dengan bijak di era globalisasi saat ini. Kemudian pertanyaan kedua saya tujukan kepada Dr. Peter Mandalif. Bagaimana kebijakan pemerintah untuk dapat mendukung kolaborasi antar agama di tingkat nasional serta memberikan adakah contoh proyek multikultural yang melibatkan organisasi berbasis keagamaan dalam mengatasi tantangan global. Sekian, terima kasih.
Selanjutnya silakan.
Ya, terima kasih. Salam sehat untuk kita semuanya. Saya Salomina Pati dari Ambon, Kepala SMA Kristen Rehoboth, Yayasan Dr. C.B. Sitanala, Kepunyaan Gereja Protestan Maluku. Saya basic guru pendidikan agama Kristen. Ini refleksi saya berdasarkan apa yang disampaikan oleh Prof. Musaki. Ya, Prof. Refleksi saya ini berdasarkan juga refleksi dari anak-anak murid kami yang setiap pembelajaran kami membuat angket pada Google Form. Siapa guru yang menarik bagi Anda, menurut Anda? Salah satunya media yang disampaikan tadi, bahwa itu penting, media penting. Tapi ada juga yang disampaikan, selain model pembelajaran, tapi gurunya juga harus punya sikap yang bagus, attitude-nya yang bagus. Dengan demikian, ini menjadi refleksi kita, Bapak Ibu guru yang ada di sini maupun di seluruh Indonesia. Untuk kita memang harus melihat hal-hal yang bukan hanya penting tapi menarik. Ya, yang asik bagi anak murid yaitu gurunya juga yang punya sikapnya bagus, attitude-nya bagus.
Bisa fokus ke pertanyaan saja Bu, silakan.
Ya, ini refleksi saya, Prof.
Iya.
Makanya Bapak, saya selain refleksi saya menambahkan mengusulkan kepada Prof. Bolehkah ditambahkan juga selain tadi media yang menarik, attitude guru juga menarik, dan juga model pembelajaran yang harus menarik. Ya, dengan demikian ya terciptalah harmonisasi menuju sekolah moderasi. Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih. Ya. Silakan Prof. Arifin.
Okay, thank you. My question is addresses to all of the speaker from Indonesia, to Professor Saki and also from the Kiai from Pesantren, and also from the Buddha. Yeah, I want to ask about regarding an offer from the government to all of religious organization in Indonesia to be part of mining management, pertambangan. Yeah. Mining management. I think it's the one current issue in Indonesia. And I think many people and also the civil society organization are worried about this offer from the government, because one of the issue is about the environment. What do you think? What your response regarding an offer from the government to all of religious organization to manage the mining in Indonesia? Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih ya untuk semua pertanyaan yang ada. Mungkin yang pertama kepada Prof. Muzaki dulu ya, karena ini ada beberapa pertanyaan yang mengarah ke presentasi Bapak. Lalu kemudian nanti kepada Peter Mandeville ya, ada pertanyaan tentang collaboration itu. Dan nanti siapa saja dari panelis bisa menjawab, merespon pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang ada. Silakan.
Baik.
Waktu panelis 4 menit ya.
Oh siap. Saya izin menjawab dalam bahasa Indonesia Pak moderator. Pak Afdol dan Bu Salamita. 2 tahun lalu ada lelaki di Gresik menikah dengan kambing. Tahun ini ada orang yang mengaku Gus di Blitar menghalalkan berhubungan suami istri tanpa ada alat, tanpa ada ikatan pernikahan. Bahkan gonta-ganti pasangan itu boleh. Gubernur bingung, meminta kami dari Majelis Ulama Indonesia turun ke lapangan. Faktanya adalah itu semua untuk kepentingan konten Pak. Jadi Bapak mau ngapain, ceramah, muter-muter mau ngapain Pak, itu dibikin untuk kepentingan konten, menaikkan algoritmanya. Gak ada itu perkawinan laki-laki dengan kambing. Itu supaya view-nya banyak, naik Pak, ujung-ujungnya AdSense. Gitu Pak. Saya mau nanya ini ke teman-teman guru kita semua ini. Siapa yang follower akunnya di atas 5.000? Bapak mau ceramah apa Pak untuk anak-anak? Pak enggak punya follower Pak. Bu, rusaknya ruang publik itu bukan karena makin hebatnya orang jahat. Karena bapak-bapak yang baik diam. Enggak pernah main sosmed Pak. Saya ini suaranya belum kembali Pak, saya baru pulang petugas haji 1 minggu. Suara saya baru keluar kemarin Pak, saya izin ke Pak Matius. Saya tiap hari Pak itu melaporkan yang saya dapatkan dalam tim monitoring di Arab Saudi. Begitu ada kasus saya di depan mata saya sendiri, ada nenek-nenek meninggal karena kelelahan, saya unggah Pak dalam 1 jam. 20.000 Pak. Sekarang sudah 110.000 yang nge-view. Maka saya selalu bilang, yang saya presentasikan itu adalah pengalaman saya saja Pak. Nah karena itu kemudian saya mengajak kepada kita semua Bapak Ibu sekalian. Hadirlah di sosial media jika ingin menanamkan pengaruh di ruang publik. Kalau tidak, maka mereka akan mencari kiai dengan caranya sendiri. Mereka akan mencari pendeta dengan caranya sendiri. Mereka akan mencari, apa lagi Pak? breakthrough dengan cara sendiri, Pak. Karena apa? Karena ada generation gap. Dulu orang-orang tua itu kalau pacaran jam 9 malam, orang tuanya itu gelisah, Pak. Dia bisa membaca tanda-tanda orang tuanya marah. Coba sekarang, Pak, ada anak-anak apa? Apel ke pacarnya. Jam 9 bapaknya bilang, bapakmu bengek. Beda cara memanai isyarat. Nah, menurut saya ini semua harus hadir. Nah, terkait, your questions, Prof. Samsul Arifin, about mining management delivered by the government to faith-based organizations. Okay, the governments try to get a lot of attention from faith-based organizations, but the issue is, what has the government done so far to faith-based organizations? They support themselves. They support their activities by their funding. Okay, in France there is a book. The argument is kicking away the ladder. Countries in Europe, for example, try to grab a lot of money from mining. And now people also pay attention to the way how international governments, let's say, donated some lands to the faith-based organization for mining management.
Baik,
I don't think this is an issue for the multi-faith awareness for that. Thank you.
Oke, thank you. Terima kasih Pak Prof. Musaki. Silakan, your time to answer.
So thank you very much for the question about how we can address global challenges through partnerships with faith-based organizations. For USAID, many of our missions around the world partner with faith-based organizations on issues that are specific to that particular country. But there are other ways in which we try to focus our work on truly global challenges. And so I would like to touch briefly on two examples that I think represent areas of great potential for developing these partnerships. One of them relates to the role of faith-based organizations in addressing challenges related to climate change, as our colleague has highlighted. In every world religion, we have by now a well-developed movement focused on the need to protect the natural environment. We have seen the emergence of important spaces of interfaith collaboration and partnership, where these movements within different faith traditions connect with each other. I feel, though, that what is still lacking is a space of connectivity between faith-based anti-climate change activism and the broader mobilization around the world to address and protect the natural environment that is operating in, let's call it, more secular spaces. Imagine the impact we could have if, instead of these two movements working in parallel, if they were connecting with each other, coordinating with each other, and bringing their respective resources and capacity to mobilize in tandem with each other. The second area that I would highlight relates to new opportunities for financing development and humanitarian work. Particularly in the fields of Muslim philanthropy and Islamic financing. I think there have been hugely interesting developments in recent years, changing understandings theologically about the meaning of zakat and sadaqah, for example, and changing theological ideas that have also changed the way that young, affluent Muslims practice their tithing obligations. And I think new opportunities to find ways to cross-fertilize between exciting new developments in Muslim philanthropy and the more conventional structures and mechanisms of the global donor community to, again, just maximize the resources that we have collectively to bring to bear on these global challenges. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Ya, jadi ini kita berikan kesempatan juga untuk panelis yang lain untuk merespon pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang ada secara khusus. Mungkin tadi pertanyaan dari Pak Prof. Arifin ya tentang soal pembagian kepada organisasi berbasis agama ya. Oke, silakan mungkin kalau Pak Hendra atau Pak Kiai mau.
Saya izin duluan, Prof.
Oke, nggak apa-apa, silakan.
Iya, mumpung udah pegang mic. Ngomong-ngomong kontraknya belum sampai di kantor kami, jadi kurang tahu Pak.
Oke.
Maksudnya begini, kalau kita bicara tentang tambang, maka kalau di dalam konsep agama Buddha mungkin Ibu Bapak tahu ada istilah disebut over tourism and sustainable tourism. Ya, salah satu tempat kita di negara kita tercinta sekarang mengalami over tourism. Bahkan sampai punya so-called little teeth ya, Anda kalau mengikuti berita, bahkan sampai ada satu tempat yang diberi nama little dengan nama negara tertentu. Beda dengan Bhutan, Bhutan adalah salah satu negara yang mayoritas penduduknya beragama Buddha yang menggunakan sustainable tourism. Ibu Bapak kalau pernah ke sana, Anda sangat beruntung. Kenapa? Mahalnya minta ampun Pak. Saya aja belum pernah Pak. Mahal. Karena memang mereka menjaga supaya tourism itu bisa berkembang dengan baik dan sustainable. Pertanyaannya, kenapa kalau di komunitas Buddha sampai sekarang belum terjadi diskusi yang mendalam? Karena memang salah satu hal yang penting di dalam berbisnis bagi orang Buddha adalah tentang sustainability, keberlanjutan. Dan salah satu yang Buddha ajarkan itu tercatat di dalam salah satu petikan syair di Dhammapada syair 49 yang menceritakan tentang bagaimana kumbang kalau dia ngambil madu di atas bunga, dia tidak merusak bunganya. Nah, ini merupakan salah satu prinsip yang perlu dipegang oleh teman-teman komunitas Buddha. Makanya sampai sekarang di antara kami, saya belum melihat ada diskusi yang lebih mendalam tentang bagaimana seharusnya kami bersikap untuk hal seperti ini. Tetapi kalau memang akan menggunakan apa yang telah Buddha ajarkan sebagai dasar untuk membuat sebuah keputusan, saya pikir ini diskusinya akan cukup panjang di komunitas Buddhis. Itu yang bisa saya jawab, terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih. Mungkin ada dari Prof. Lukman dan Pak Kiai, singkat aja Pak ya, silakan.
Ya, makasih. Jadi gini, untuk kasus Indonesia ini dia hadir dan kemudian dia merdeka itu karena peran agama. Jadi peran organisasi agama itu sangat luar biasa. Lalu kemudian negara itu mengapresiasi organisasi-organisasi berbasis keagamaan itu untuk kemudian katakanlah memberi ruang untuk mengelola tambang. Kita jangan dulu prejudice. Beri ruang kepada mereka. Memang di sini ada plus minusnya. Tapi beri ruang kepada organisasi-organisasi keagamaan. Dan terus terang untuk kasus Indonesia, ya, terutama katakanlah seperti Nahdlatul Ulama, yang hampir sebagian besar umatnya yang berada di Indonesia, itu untuk mengelolanya itu bukan hal sedikit itu. Untuk membayar lampu saja, itu membutuhkan dana yang begitu besar. Nah, beri ruang ya kepada organisasi-organisasi berbasis keagamaan yang dahulu itu mereka sudah sangat berkontribusi terhadap negara ini. Dan kini saatnya lah. Saya kira mungkin 101 abad ke depan, 100 tahun ke depan, untung-untungan ada apresiasi yang begitu luar biasa terhadap organisasi berbasis keagamaan. Karena itu beri ruang mereka, saya kira mereka berkolaborasi juga dengan beberapa misalnya pengusaha-pengusaha sehingga memungkinkan mereka untuk
terima kasih. Ya.
Itu. Terima kasih.
Baiklah Bapak Ibu dan Saudara-saudara, karena waktu kita juga sudah habis ya, jadi saya minta maaf kepada rekan-rekan teman-teman semua yang ada di sini yang mau bertanya karena waktu kita terbatas dan tidak ada waktu tambahan. Jadi saya ingin menyimpulkan bahwa memang organisasi-organisasi berbasis iman ini memiliki signifikansi khususnya di dalam peradaban manusia ya. Mungkin kita harus bisa mengingat juga bahwa kita perlu bertindak atau berpikir secara global dan bertindak secara lokal, tetapi bisa juga sebaliknya. Kita bertindak secara lokal dan berpikir secara global ya, sehingga semua isu-isu global itu bisa diatasi bersama secara kolaboratif. Ya. Baiklah, terima kasih Bapak Ibu dan Saudara. Kita akan berikan sekali lagi aplaus, penghormatan kita kepada para narasumber. Ya. Baik, kan kita akan akhiri. Saya kembalikan kepada MC.